Order. I call the meeting to order. This is the Standing Committee on Health. My name is Adegoke Fadore. I'm the MLA of Clayton Park West and also the Vice Chair of this committee. I'll be chairing today's meeting. At some point in time, the Chair might come in and we might switch, but I just want you to note that. This is also the very first time I'm chairing the committee, so please reduce the pressure. Okay, today we're going to be hearing from witnesses regarding continuing care, seniors, and long-term care workforce initiatives. At this junction, I will ask if we could put our phones on silent so that we don't have interruptions. So just in case your phone is not on workforce mode, I think you could put it there. At this junction, I also would like to ask committee members to introduce themselves for the record, stating their name and their constituency. I will start from my left.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Brad Johns, MLA for Sackville and Uniacke, sitting in for a little bit this morning for MLA John A. MacDonald, who will be joining us later today.
Susan Corcoran-Greek, MLA for Lunenburg.
Ryan Robichaud, MLA for Clare.
Nick Hilton, MLA for Yarmouth.
Good afternoon, Derek Member Kent, MLA for Sydney, Member 2.
Good afternoon, Rod Wilson for Halifax Armdale.
Good afternoon, Lena Hamid for Fairview Clayton Park.
For the purpose of the answer, I'd also like to recognize the President of the Chief Legislative Council, Gordon Ebb, to my left, and also the Legislative Committee Clerk, Jody Kavanagh, to my right. At this juncture, I also would like to ask for the witness to introduce themselves, their name, the title, and also to begin with their opening remarks, because I'm told that there's some opening remarks. So whatever way you want to start, maybe all the way from my left all the way to the right. That's okay.
Her name so they can turn on her mic.
Oh, I have to say the name. Okay. Melanson, please.
Sarah Melanson, Project Executive with the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Janet Lynn Huntington, Associate Deputy Minister of the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Don Bureaux, President of the Nova Scotia Community College.
Good afternoon, Connie Fisher, Acting Dean for the School of Health and Human Services at NSCC.
Good afternoon, Penney Campbell from the Victoria Haven Nursing Home located in Glace Bay.
Good afternoon, Charbel Daniel, President and CEO of Northwood.
So I don't know who has the opening remarks, but you have the floor. Will that be? So that's the ADM Huntington, please. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm pleased to be here today to speak on behalf of the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care on initiatives to build and strengthen the continuing care workforce. With me today is Sarah Melanson, a good friend and colleague and project executive at the department, as well as a number of my senior staff behind me. We're also joined by our colleagues from Northwood, Victoria Haven Nursing Home, and the Nova Scotia Community College, 3 of our many excellent partners. Our department was created in 2021 with a mandate of making sure seniors can live with dignity and get the right care when they need it. Caring for seniors is the driving force for what we do at the department, and supporting those who deliver that care is a big part of what we do every day. Care for seniors in Nova Scotia is delivered by compassionate, dedicated people who go above and beyond every day in so many ways. They provide exceptional care and help seniors to live their lives to the fullest with dignity and in comfort. They are hardworking people doing important work. And while it is rewarding work, it hasn't always been an in-demand career choice. We know this. And that's why, with our partners, we're focused on making career in continuing care more desirable, a career of choice, one that offers opportunities for growth and advancement, where staff feel valued and supported. The timing of this has never been better. We went from low staffing to stabilized staffing in continuing care over the last 3 years. We now have an opportunity to do transformational work to build on stable workforce, to build a modern, world-class healthcare system. To do this, we are driving progress in a number of ways, all of which are focused on strengthening, training, and supporting the workforce. We believe in continuing care workers' abilities, skills, and talents. That's why we're providing training, so they can gain new skills and advance in their careers, and ensuring they can all work to their full scope of practice. We believe that, like everyone, their workplaces should be as safe as possible so they can stay healthy. We believe they should be supported by a strong network of others in their field. That's why we are training and hiring more staff, so those in the sector work as part of a fully staffed team with a mix of experience, expertise, and skills. Together, this work is building a strong continuing care workforce, one that is evolving to meet the needs of seniors now and in the future, one that provides an environment where all staff can do meaningful work. It's paying off. I'll provide a few examples. Government is covering the cost for registered nurses in continuing care to do training so they can prescribe some medications. This is providing faster access to care for seniors and reducing trips to the emergency room. CCAs working in long-term care and home care are being supported to be licensed practical nurses through our partnership with NSCC. This is allowing them to advance their careers. CCAs' wages were increased by about 23%. More CCAs and practical nurses are being trained through free tuition, books, and other supports. Since free tuition for CCA students was introduced in 2021, 2,600 students have enrolled in CCA programs in the province, adding significantly to the continuing care workforce. The province's CCA training program has been updated so that it better reflects the complex care needs of seniors. The new 6-month program is now being provided to all CCA students. Workplace safety initiatives are contributing to lower injury rates. In 2023, we saw a 15% improvement in home care and continued improvement in long-term care over the previous year. These are the lowest rates they have been since 1997. A strong workforce is fundamental to a continuing care system that delivers high-quality, timely care to seniors. Our department is also focused on supporting seniors to age well in their homes, building and replacing more long-term care spaces, and supporting the delivery of high-quality long-term care. All this work is interconnected. It is resulting in better, faster care for seniors and easing pressures on our healthcare system. Work like this gives Nova Scotians confidence in the continuing care system, that it will be ready to provide the care and support they need as they age. While we are seeing a lot of improvements, our work is not done. We will continue this work with the same commitment and intensity as we have for the past few years, Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. I also heard that Mr. Bureaux has opening remarks. So, Mr. Bureaux, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the committee members for inviting us here today to speak. At the Nova Scotia Community College, we are proud to deliver more than 130 programs in various fields of study at campuses across the entire province of Nova Scotia. However, support for training of the professionals who will serve in the long-term care sector, those caring for our seniors and most vulnerable members of our society, we believe, and I know you do too, deserves our focused attention and investment. At the college, we've been so pleased through our School of Health and Human Services to respond to the numerous ways government has worked to add to the number of professionals in this field. For example, thanks to the government's continuing care tuition support incentive that will assist 2,000 students, we have seen a rise in the number of those pursuing a career in this important field. And they are committed, I am pleased to say, to remaining professionals here in the province of Nova Scotia. We've had the opportunity to partner with SLTC on two very exciting CCA and PN bridge programs where CCAs are supported in their learning journey to become licensed practical nurses, while continuing to work as CCAs in continuing care settings in their home communities. Now, the CCA to PN bridging program can be accessed online from anywhere in the province and then on a campus for a portion of the program for their labs and their clinical placements. We began this with a program pilot in Truro in 2024, and we started a second pilot in Amherst in January of just this year. And we're about to complete the second of the two pilots of an accelerated curriculum for our CCA program, where they've been located directly, and this is exciting, on the site of a long-term care facility. The first group has successfully completed their program and are now employed in the sector. And we eagerly anticipate the successful completion of the second pilot group, who are currently finishing their mentorship placements. With the incredible support of our SLTC department partners and the ability to work flexibly with the curriculum and delivery, we can bring these important professionals into the sector faster, all while informing the provincial challenges that are being made to informing the provincial changes that are being made to the CCA program overall through these pilots. At the college, I must say, we're very excited to offer an additional customized delivery of the new CCA program as soon as May of this year, offering the new provincial curriculum for the first time. This will be in partnership with a long-term care provider and a new construction build requiring CCAs to staff it when it opens its doors in November of this year. Now, this past January, we began the first ever accelerated PN program at the Ivany campus in Dartmouth with the support, again, of our wonderful partners at SLTC for their tuition and fees. We are educating practical nurses who have a direct connection to an employer in continuing care and work in sector upon completion of the program. Instead of the 2 full years, this has been accelerated, and this is an important point, has been accelerated to 18 months in terms of the completion time frame. The school has been honored to be part of the collaboration and development of the new CCA program, working with our colleagues to build a program that is a direct response to the evolving needs of the continuing care sector. To the members of this committee, these are a few of the key examples of the new initiatives that we are part of at the college in helping to address the urgent needs of this critical and key sector. And this is part of the mission of the Nova Scotia Community College. We believe in the instrumental connection with our partners to help individuals pursue great careers. And we believe deeply in working with partners and helping to open doors to lead more professionals to this excellent career. And with the growing population, the expanding economy, we know we can't stand still. We must meet these opportunities with innovation, new delivery methods, more flexibility, with increased diversity in our classrooms, and by strengthening our current collaborative efforts, including supporting underrepresented communities, upskilling, or creating even new pathways from one occupation to another, and augmenting current resources. By doing all this, we know we can move quickly and efficiently to reach the goals that we each hold in the communities that we serve. Again, thank you, Mr. Chair, for this opportunity to be here this afternoon and for the continued support of all parties in your communities for this very important work. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Campbell, do you have opening remarks?
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Penney Campbell. We are here today to discuss the benefits of workforce optimization. It has helped improve the sustainability of the long-term care workforce, creating stability and putting us closer to our goal of being a sector of choice. It has also contributed to quality resident care outcomes. Nova Scotians requiring the services from continuing care will benefit now and in the years to come. I've been a registered nurse for 37 years, with many of my experiences in management and leadership roles. When I graduated in the late 1980s, there were very few employment opportunities in nursing. I had to move to the United States to find work, but when the job market improved here, I moved home. I've been the Director of Facility and Resident Care with MacLeod Care's Victoria Haven Nursing Home in Glace Bay since 2013. The MacLeod Group operates 14 locations in Atlantic Canada. Founded by the late Brian and Irene MacLeod in 1981, it has become a recognized leader in high-quality retirement living and senior care, building on a solid foundation of family values and sense of community. For the past 2 years, I've been part of a committee chaired by Sarah Melanson. Our committee work has been powerful, profound, timely, and timeless. It challenged the norm and developed a framework with striking clarity, utilizing the advice of key stakeholders to navigate the journey ahead. Victoria Haven took part in the CCA role standardization pilot, utilizing a project management approach that mapped the framework for change. Every certified CCA, regardless of their previous training, would demonstrate the minimum competencies to practice a full scope of employment. This has allowed the licensed staff to focus on their responsibilities and scope of practice. This ensures the right person is delivering the right care in the right setting at the right time. This has contributed to improved quality resident care outcomes, workplace culture, and a workforce that is sustainable and has stabilization. The CCAs now have role clarity and more responsibility. They have reported improved job satisfaction, feel more valued, and part of the nursing team. It has contributed to a positive workplace culture with improved trust, communication, and collaboration. Throughout the journey, we demonstrated resilience. Change is hard, but building resilience has helped reframe the inevitable unease that accompanies learning and transformation. We learn to sit in the space, embracing the uncertainty while showing up to work each day. We have emerged stronger and wiser, ready to navigate the next learning opportunity. And thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Recognize Mr. Daniel.
Hi, everybody. Chair, committee members, and guests. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. It's truly an honor to be here to represent Northwood, an organization rooted in social justice and providing dignified living for seniors for over 60 years. And though we're here to discuss staffing strategies and recruitment strategies, I believe the discussion is a little bit deeper than that. So let me start with what we're really here to talk about today. People with purpose. Over the past few years, we've navigated some of the largest challenges in continuing care, and we recognize that there are more challenges ahead. Some of these challenges lie around burnout, some of them around changing expectations. But at Northwood, we don't see these challenges as stop signs. We see them as turning points. Turning points where we can ask questions about how do we do better? How do we care more deeply? And how do we create an environment where people don't just show up to work, but fulfill a sense of purpose? And to do that, we have to create more than just job postings. We have to create a culture and a community with multiple pathways for fulfilling careers. We're doing this through the launch of the Northwood Career College. We're doing this through the partnerships with Department and Seniors and Long-Term Care on several programs like the LPN Bridging Program, RN Prescribers, and CCA Standardization. We're building relationships that begin in the classroom and extend into lifelong learning. But we know attraction gets people through the door. Retention is what keeps them. And that's why we continue to focus on leadership, mentorship, mental health programs, and most importantly, creating a culture where people are seen, heard, and respected every single day. And this isn't just talk. The results speak for themselves. Recently, Northwood has been recognized once again as one of Nova Scotia's top 100 employers for the 10th year in a row. Last month, our HR team was recognized by being awarded as the HR Team of the Year by the Chartered Professionals of Human Resources. Northwood was also recognized for its leadership in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging by the Nursing Home of Nova Scotia Association. All of these accolades provide credibility to the work happening at Northwood. Last year, Northwood was named one of Canada's top 30 most innovative organizations. But at Northwood, innovation, it's not about apps and technology. It's about courage. The courage to challenge the status quo. The courage to lead with humility. And the courage to build programs that are rooted in dignity and not just delivery. What I've witnessed at Northwood has been nothing short of extraordinary. I've seen people return from retirement because their purpose didn't retire with them. I've heard stories exchanged in the hallways among generations that reminds us of the importance of the work that's happening. And I've seen over and over again how it makes people feel when they're part of something bigger. We're not just filling roles. We're creating a movement of people who don't just show up to work because they have to, but because they want to, because they believe in the power of the work that they're doing and they know that it's building a better future for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. We'll move to the questions and answer period now. Just want to remind people that we should wait for our names to be mentioned and then wait for the light to come on, the red light, before you speak so that we're able to pick you up on Ledge TV. I also want to say that each caucus is allowed 20 minutes each, so we'll start with the official opposition. And then the first 1 hour will be split 20-20-20, and then the subsequent minutes or whatever we have left will be shared 10 minutes apart. We'll see how that goes. So at this juncture, I'd like to welcome the official opposition. So I welcome Emily Wilson.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, and thank you, everyone, for coming. So I've been excited about this because my background in medicine has been mostly acute primary care, so I'm looking forward to learning a lot about what's going on in seniors long-term care, especially since it's a new department. We have a lot of questions. It's not meant to be a quiz. It's really just to understand what's going on. If we get into the weeds, feel free. Just we can follow up with notes later. I'd like to ask a lot of questions to my colleagues' dismay. So again, thank you all for coming this snowy day. First question is a big picture question: is how many? And most of my questions are for seniors long-term care department. How many people? I realize this is a fluid, moving target, but in approximately how many people in Nova Scotia receive care from seniors in long-term care?
ADM audit team, please.
Thank you. We serve in the home care side around 40,000 Nova Scotians a year and around 9,000 on the long-term care side.
Emily Wilson.
Can you tell me, again, it's a fluid number, I'm sure, the approximate workforce to meet those people? And again, I'm sure it's changing weekly and daily, but.
ADM Huntington, please.
Yes, right now in continuing care in Nova Scotia, we have around 16,000 employees, and that would include, CCAs, dietary staff, OTs, PTs, allied health professionals. So in total, between both sectors, around 16,000.
Amelia Wilson.
Can you tell me approximately, outside of the administration staff, which I realize are important, but how many clinical staff you have in each type of skill set?
ADM Huntington.
I'd have to confirm the total number of clinical staff, but I can tell you of the 16,000, 9,000 are CCAs. So I'd have to follow up with the mix of the other healthcare professionals.
Emily Wilson.
So approximately half for CCAs, okay. The big question everyone has, how many vacancies do you have approximately today, knowing it'll change tomorrow?
ADM.
Thank you for the question. I'd like to take a little opportunity to talk about the work that we've done to actually get that number. So when I came to the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care just over 4 years ago, one of the first questions I asked was, what was the vacancy data telling us? And we didn't have the number. And as you know, long-term care and home care providers are individual employers. We are the funder as the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care, but individual employers are responsible for the hiring and of their workforce. So we didn't have a vacancy survey that was reliable. There was one survey that existed. It went out every 2 years or so, and it wasn't mandatory. So it had about a 50% response rate. So didn't really give us the data that we needed to make long-term workforce investments in planning. So I'm really pleased and proud to report that with Sarah's work and her team, she has developed a very thorough, and you can ask the providers here that fill it out because I'm sure it's quite frustrating sometimes, but a very thorough vacancy survey that we've been collecting data consistently now for over a year. That's collected quarterly. So we're allowed to actually see trends now. And so from a vacancy perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I think home care is about 11.8% and long-term care is 7.9%. Yeah.
Thank you. Your metrics.
Wait till I recognize you. Emily Wilson.
Your metrics are music to my ears, other than the vacancy rate. So what I thought I heard you say is that now, as the funder, you have some standardized reporting back from the providers, right? Can you just tell me, highlight what might be the key sections of metrics?
Would you? I recognize Melanson.
Thank you. So the vacancy survey that goes out quarterly focuses on all the roles within the two sectors. So there's a home care survey and a long-term care survey, and we ask folks to let us know about vacancies, exit rates, and it's all based in individual roles.
Emily Wilson.
One of the questions I'm curious about, we've heard, and I think long-term care uses the word travel staff. I've heard travel nurses, agency nurses. Does seniors and long-term care rely on, and if you do, what percentage of your staff are the contract or travel staff or travel nurses?
ADM Huntington.
Thank you for the question. So we've worked really hard, as you can imagine, over the last number of years through our workforce investment initiatives to reduce our reliance on travel staff in the sector. And so, every time travel staff has been approved in the past, it's through a rigorous process. So it's not just an automatic yes, you get access to travel staff because, we want permanent staff in those facilities, right? We want them working with those residents every single day. So a lot of the initiatives that we're going to talk about today will support how we've reduced our reliance on travel staff. What I can say is over the last number of years, you will see significant drops from the sector in needing and utilizing travel staff. As of April 1st of this fiscal year, of this calendar year, we don't have any travel staff in seniors and long-term care that we are funding or supporting at this point, which is really welcome news. It means stabilized staffing in long-term care.
Emily Wilson, sorry.
That's a great accomplishment to reach that, so congratulations. In December 21, there was a commitment to recruit CCAs by the government across Canada, and I've certainly met some of the folks that have come to Canada. Can you speak to how many people we recruited internationally in that program? Is the program still existing, and do we have any metrics as to how long folks are staying in our province?
I recognize ADM Huntington.
Thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, employers are responsible for the individual recruitment of their employees. So it would be best to speak to them about the total number of employees that have come from the international stream. Certainly, SLTC has a vested interest in making sure that we have a stabilized workforce. And so we have worked with our partners at the Health Association of Nova Scotia, HANDS, on domestic and recruitment opportunities. So if our employers need some assistance with recruitment, we have a HANDS team that we support in recruitment and retention. And I believe that number between domestic and international is just over 400 that we have supported our employers to match employees with employers. The employers themselves, and I would encourage you to speak to them specifically about some of the things that they've done in that particular area.
Emily Wilson.
I'm so used to having discussions with microphones. I guess I'll come back to you in a minute then with those questions. I was happy to hear, and I just want to understand, 2,600 enrollment in the CCA program?
ADM Huntington.
No, I just couldn't see if it was red, sorry. Yes, over the last number of years, we've had over 2,600 people enroll in CCA programs in Nova Scotia, with more coming. And what I would say, and I think it's important to recognize, was when the free CCA tuition was rolled out a number of years ago, we had about a 50% participation rate in our CCA training programs. So people didn't want to participate in those programs. So we really had to make sure that we were creating, changing the narrative on what it's like to work in continuing care, making sure people knew that it was a great career with long-term opportunities for advancement. And that's some of the stuff that we've been working on for sure. And so we are pleased that, our target was 1,000 a year, and we exceeded that target. We hit 2,600 people. Thank you.
Emily Wilson.
Things were so much easier outside of government. And in that 2,600, in 2021, there was $22 million made available through government for the initiative. Has that fund been fully utilized? And do you need more money?
ADM Huntington.
Thank you. So the initiatives that were announced in that initial investment have been utilized, but there is ongoing continued investment. So you'll remember we talked about free tuition for CCAs. So we have not, even though we've exceeded our target, we are still offering and will continue to offer free tuition for CCAs in Nova Scotia as needed. We've also continued with some of the professional development fund and the innovation fund at hand, some of those original investments that were made. Workplace health and safety was announced back as part of that, and that is an ongoing financial commitment. So what we are doing now, though, quite frankly, is looking at what we have, the resources that we have, and what we can do. It's a different game than it was 3.5 years ago. So we're looking at the resources that we have to determine what the next steps are and what we can do to make sure that, yes, we've stabilized the sector. That's great news. We're not done, though. And we can't ever take our foot off the gas. And that's a really important message I want people to understand, is there's no start and stop to this. We always need to make sure that at the end of the day, we are doing all of the things that we can to make sure that Nova Scotians have a sector that they can rely on, that they're proud of, that they have confidence in, and that people, healthcare professionals like yourself, know that it is a desirable sector to work in, and it is a sector of choice amongst healthcare professionals.
Emily Wilson.
So with that confidence, during the last sitting of the legislature, I received probably emails and phone calls every day from CCAs, nurses in long-term care. One of the concerns that was brought forward, that there was often staffing shortages and cancellations of home care or services the next day, often late at night, and that brought distress to both the nursing staff and the clients. Can you tell me how many, and again, this may be in the provider, but I think it'd be a good quality question, how many cancellations of services happen per month?
ADM also do.
I don't have that figures, but we can get something for you. What I would say, though, on the home care front is we are doing a really focused effort over the next number of years on transforming the home care sector. So we know that Nova Scotians, and all the evidence and research would tell us this, they want to stay home, right? That they want to live comfortably in their home. So we have an obligation and responsibility to make sure that we have a workforce that can deliver that service. So we are going to be, now that we've stabilized, we still have more work to do, always pushing forward. But now that we've stabilized the workforce, we can start looking at what we can do to provide better care quicker in a more efficient way, so that you're not getting those phone calls and that there are not canceled visits, and that we're matching the care to what's being authorized. And when I say that, what I mean is, while there are definitely canceled visits from employers, from agencies that are unfortunate, and nobody likes that, and it's not a great, we need to do better in that area. What I would say is we also have canceled visits from clients. So they don't necessarily want that service that day, right? So what can we do as a province to make sure that if a client says, you know what, I don't want the service that's been authorized and approved for me on this day, what can we do to make sure that that appointment is going to somebody else in a quicker way? So these are all the initiatives that we're going to be working on, and I look forward to coming back and sharing the details with you on that and some of the transformational work that we're just in early stages on.
Emily Wilson.
Thank you. That would be helpful to understand how many cancellations there are, and then in the future what your goals are in terms of decrease them and how you met. With goals, we did a Freedom of Information request back in December 24, late last year, that showed that 49 long-term cares homes were providing 4.1 hours of care per person. A couple months later, can you tell me how many, again, this may be a question, is how many clients are receiving 4.1 hours, and is there a standard goal for care in terms of time?
ADM Altadine.
Thank you for the question. So the 4.1 hour of care initiative is as much about quality care, resident care, as it is about workforce retention. So when the government announced the 4.1 hours of care about 3.5 years ago, it was a significant investment into the sector. And it was also at a time when 400 beds were closed to staffing, approximately. So I remember working at the time when beds were closed and we announced an additional 4.1 hours of care. And I remember thinking to myself, how are we going to do this? And all of the initiatives that we're talking about today have allowed us to get to the point where about 92% of our facilities in Nova Scotia are delivering 4.1 hours of care. And that investment is quite significant for a whole host of reasons, obviously from a quality of resident care perspective, but also the reason that we're here today. It means an additional 549 FTEs into the sector. That's CCAs, LPNs, and RNs. And when you are trying to attract people to come and work in a sector, an additional investment of 549 FTEs goes a long way. Nobody wants to work shorthanded, right? They want a fully staffed organization. And 4.1 hours of care has allowed us to do that. And again, I would encourage you to talk to some of the employers about that who are at or delivering 4.1 hours of care. The intention would be that all long-term care facilities in Nova Scotia are delivering 4.1 hours of care, which, by the way, we're very proud of here in Nova Scotia, as it's among the highest ratio of hours of care in the country.
Just wait a minute, you have 4 minutes, 47 seconds left. I recognize Emily Wilson.
I'm going to turn my questions, okay? A couple of questions then for my colleagues, our colleagues in Victoria Haven and Northwood. How are your staffing ratios, and what are your goals, and where are your major gaps in your workforce?
I recognize Ms. Campbell.
Thank you for the question. So at Victoria Haven, I have 59 permanent employees, and 52 casual employees in 4 management. So approximately 51% are permanent and 49% are casual. We are at the 4.1 staffing level. We do a lot with recruitment. All of our uniform employees, including casual employees, earn sick time, holiday time, and vacation leave credits versus them getting paid out a percentage on their pay. They can earn up to and including 160 hours of vacation time during prime time and summer vacation. We encourage a work-life balance, and every employee gets time off. Last year, most employees got all of their time off, especially during prime time. So,
okay. I recognize Emily Wilson.
Mr. Daniel, I want to say welcome. I've been a long time Northwood, so you must be new into the role since Janet left. Welcome. Can you speak to Northwood's challenges in terms of staffing vacancies and challenges?
Mr. Daniel, I recognize that.
Yes. So I'll speak to it from 2 different perspectives, home care and long-term care. On the long-term care side, with all the initiatives that have come through, free tuition, the adjustment in salaries, we were excited a few months ago where we hit 0 vacancies at our Halifax location. That's the first time we've achieved that in 25 years. So a huge milestone for us. Now, of course, there's always a bit of turnover as we continue to work through those numbers, but a massive achievement. As we continue to focus on how we attract and retain people, it's, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, all about enhancing that work environment and creating a sense of purpose. Earlier, you asked a question about the home care side and cancellations. So just to put it into perspective, and I know this from a previous hat, but last time I checked, I think there was about 200,000 responses per year by EMS for the province. At Northwood, we're doing nearly 500,000 home care visits a year, so it's quite substantial. Of those visits, 90% of those visits that are canceled are actually canceled by the clients. And what we do to ensure that we can continue to retain our teams is that we provide them guaranteed hours. So they're not losing pay when these canceled visits happen. We're maintaining their salaries and their income. Overall of that total number, it's a little bit less than 2% of those cancellations have to do with weather or sick calls or car breakdowns. So another substantial improvement in comparison to the volume of work.
Okay, I would like to recognize Emily Rodson with 1 minute, 12 seconds left.
This is like beat the clock. Back to the seniors. There was a substantial raise 2 years ago to CCAs. How does the current CCA compensation compare to other provinces? And what are your thoughts going forward? ADM,
sorry.
Thank you for the question. I can tell you when I was on the call where our Premier had met with CCAs on a call with over 300 CCAs, where they talked about the need for an investment in their wages. And we all heard on that call the important work that they do and the need for an investment in wages. And shortly after that call happened, the Premier made the announcement that they would get that significant raise. And what I would say is that has gone a long way in helping us talk about some of the statistics that we're being able to share today. So people then became attracted to becoming a CCA for wages and for all of the other things that we're talking, workplace health and safety initiatives, free tuition. I would say...
Time up.
Oh.
So at this juncture, I'm going to recognize the second opposition, the MLA for Sydney, Member 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to everyone. Honored to be here. Always great when a Cape Bretoner is on committee. Thanks for making the trip. And I do want to recognize the staff in the department who are familiar faces to me during our days in education. So it's good to see you, and I appreciate the quick response I received for any questions I do get from the department in regards to seniors in long-term care. Mr. Bureaux, good to see you. Good to see you all. So I'm going to start. Some of the questions, actually, that my colleague asked were some I was going to ask, and he likes to ask a lot of questions quickly. So what I'll start with, and it's really, because I'll have some questions for the department around infrastructure, because that's a big thing right now for the department. Announcements have been made over the years, multiple governments for construction, but really, you know, based on, there's been a number of investments government has made, and I'm going to ask each of you who are not in government. I would like to hear from you what else government should be doing at this point that could help support the sector. And that could be through education, that could be through training, that could be through retention. If there's one thing the government is not doing right now that they could be doing, what is it?
Should I recognize Mr. Bureaux? Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Nice to see you, sir. Thank you for the question. It's always a tough one to answer a question, what's not being done. So I'm going to reframe my answer a bit of what could be done more. And it's not from a point of view that it's lacking, it's just we have been very impressed and very appreciative with the innovation and flexibility appetite. And when we sit down, the question is what is needed to be done to do it differently? And we have had tremendous success with that kind of philosophy. And our hope, and there's no indication to indicate why it wouldn't, we want that to continue.
I would like to recognize Ms. Campbell.
Thank you for the question. That's a really tough question because there's been a lot of innovation and a lot of funding in our sector. I think if we just follow the path that we're on. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Daniel?
Thank you. And yeah, great question. I think it's important to recognize first that where we're heading, the work that's happening in the sectors, there's no destination of a place where we'll get to. It's the journey, and it's the work that's happening, and how do we continue to have this journey and enhance it. I'm very impressed with the amount of innovation that's happening with providing care and the comfort of the residents' own homes. And when we look at, this is an initiative that started a little while ago with Care by Design, grouping physicians for on-call, integrating EHS with extended care paramedics, and now as it involves to RN prescribers and soon to be delivering IV therapy on site, it solves things on so many different fronts. The first one we talked about earlier is how do you attract and retain your teams? And by allowing them to practice to their full scope is the number one thing to keep them. And that investment from government and the initiative to do that, I hope to continue to see that because it makes our lives a lot easier to keep the teams that we have when they feel that they're practicing to their full scope and feeling fulfilled. The other piece is that investment also provides a high quality care for those individuals that don't have to be subjected to going to the hospital. And I can speak for that from my own personal experience as a former frontline paramedic and having to do some of those transfers and realizing that these individuals can get care in their own home is substantial. And then the third, just as important, is the pressure that it's taking off the system of not having to tie up resources to provide that same quality care. So I think from my perspective, I'd like to see that journey continue on. Maybe the next step is we start rolling out portable x-rays and doing x-rays at the locations. Who knows what's in the future? But these initiatives are extremely innovative and very pleasing to see.
Emily Mombakat.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Chair, and I appreciate it. It's always nice to ask the folks that are on the ground doing the work, right? And we see it firsthand in Sydney. There's some great folks on the ground doing work and supporting families in a number of different homes in the area. Just on the funding piece, I'll ask this to the department. So the Canada-Nova Scotia Aging with Dignity Funding Agreement, the 2023-24 to 27-28. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the funding for the 23-24 included Grow Your Own CCA, $2.875 million. They cover the salary of 115 students while they engage in CCA training. And CCA Philippines recruitment, $500,000 to support recruitment of 100 individuals for CCA roles. How's it go? How's the progress on streamlining credentials for internationally educated professionals through the funding that you receive?
I recognize ADM Huntington. Sorry, I recognize Melanson to speak on that.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yes, we've been able to do quite a bit over the past few years with those initiatives. And one of the things we spent quite a bit of time with my team around is looking at pathways for folks to be CCAs. And so we've really spent a bit of time thinking about who else are care aides, right? That's what, at the end of the day, a CCA is a term we use, but most places would think of it as a care aide. So we've been looking at where are the care aides and what does it look like to help transfer those credits. And so we're doing quite well with that. That was part of the that Philippine recruitment fund, because we do know there's a good transfer, a good path there, and so that funding exists for employers to access.
I recognize Emily Mobakat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next one I was going to ask about was the $945,000 that was allocated for the HR Innovation Fund for initiatives such as education programs, recruitment and retention of health care workers in continuing care. What are some of the programs that's covering under that $945,000?
I recognize ADM Huntington.
Thank you. And Ms. Melanson can help me with this answer. She'll have more details than I do. But what I can tell you about some of those dollars is we really did allow the flexibility of employers to decide. So what they wanted to do, what they needed. We heard from them on some of the initiatives that they wanted to see some investment in. And you mentioned earlier around the Grow Your Own initiative. So I'd like to take a minute to talk to you about that, and it's important because the Grow Your Own initiative actually came from the idea from the Cove Guest Home in Sydney, which you would know about. So the Grow Your Own CCA initiative, again, these are the things that we really value our relationships and our partners and our partnerships with our providers. So we have free CCA tuition in Nova Scotia. We've had for a number of years, and it's worked, and we're very proud of it. What do we have to do now, though? What is the next step? So we had an employer in Sydney at the Cove come to us and say, we did a thing with one of our staff to make sure that they had a great career, and here's what we did. Are you okay with it, and do you think you should do it in other opportunities? And so what this particular CEO did was she worked with the dietary staff, so somebody that's worked at the Cove for many, many years, who loved the residents, had a great relationship, wanted to be a CCA. This individual has a full-time job. They have bills to pay. They could not afford to leave their workplace, leave their career, and go take the free CCA program. So the employer worked with the individual to offer some wraparound supports to say, okay, how does this sound? We will support you. We will provide wage replacement for you to continue to go and study to be a CCA. You have to come back and work at the Cove. You have to come back and work for us for 2 years. Will you do that? And that was a beautiful example of a long-term care provider listening to what their staff needs and wants. And they shared that example with us. And that is an idea that we have taken and ran with. And we always give our credit to the Cove Guest Home for that idea because it was brilliant. And we have, I think it's close to 200 people that are enrolled in the Grow Your Own CCA initiative, and that comes from some of the funding that you're talking about, MLA Member Cat. And what that means is employers can then apply for funding to support wage replacement. So if you have a staff that really wants to be a CCA, from a retention perspective, we want them, right? So if they're already working in a different role in their long-term care facility, we want to be able to have options and opportunity to support them. So this wage replacement opportunity allows them to access the free tuition, continue to work in some cases, or if not, if they can't work full-time, then they'll get wage replacement so they can continue to live their life while they're studying, which is so important, and pay their bills. And then they have a full-time job afterwards. And we have, so from a retention perspective, that employer already knows, I'm going to invest in this individual. They've already worked here. They're in a different role, maintenance, dietary aid, you name it. The residents love them. They have a great relationship with the staff here, and now they're going to become part of the care team. And so that was just one idea from one employer, from an innovation perspective, that we listened to, and now has become a program that is available to employers in Nova Scotia.
Emily Mobakat.
How much time do I have, Mr. Chair?
9 minutes, 21 seconds.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you. And I was actually at the call for the childcare announcement, so which is also something that probably will help with retention down the road too, if we can expand childcare into the facilities. As we see in the healthcare sector, that's a big barrier for folks as they're trying to access childcare, and the Cove was really innovative on that too as well, working with the YMCA to open a new center. So I encourage everyone to keep pushing that. It's important. So I'll get into, I'm going to get into infrastructure. You probably know what part of this question will be, but I'll get an update publicly. But there has been a lot of announcements over the years. As I said, I was proud to be in Glace Bay with my colleague who couldn't join us today, but former Premier Ian Rankin, to announce a number of long-term care facilities to be constructed in Glace Bay, of course. Carefield Manor, McGilvery was announced then, and there were some others. So just an update from the department on how the infrastructure is going. I know a number of buildings are well on their way. We've been in discussions, of course, both in McGilvery, if you want to give a comment on that too as well. But are you confident that all the construction is coming in on time and on budget?
ADM Huntington.
Thank you for the question. And when I come here today to talk about recruitment and retention of workforce, building modern facilities that people want to work in is a key commitment and cornerstone of that recruitment and retention initiative. So we have what I would describe as a generational investment in long-term care infrastructure in this province. 50 plus projects, 18 currently in construction, and with the exception of today's weather, now that it is spring, we expect more of those projects to continue in the weeks and months ahead. So we are working with our providers on their replacement builds and their new builds to ensure that we are getting what they want in a modern long-term care facility. So they have certain requirements in community, and we want to make sure that they're getting what they need to deliver high-quality care. It really is one of those things, as you can imagine, that it's a conversation, it's a phone call, it's several meetings. Particularly the boards that are working on these projects are giving hours and hours of their time to really build what they would say is their legacy facility, right? And so we have an obligation at the department to ensure that we're providing clear, accurate information to them about what the expectations are. We have a budget. We understand that construction fluctuates, and so we have to look from within, first and foremost, to manage that budget. Our commitment at the department is to ensure that every one of those builds continues with budget in mind, but also at the end of the day to make sure the residents, particularly those in Cape Breton, you said there was one Cape Bretoner at the table. There are two Cape Bretoners at the table. So I will remind you of that respectfully. I know that the McGilvery Guest Home is a cornerstone of that community, and I know that they need a new facility. And the department is 100% committed to working with that board, who has given hours and hours of their time to make sure that that facility gets done as quickly as possible, because the residents deserve that.
Emily Mumbakat.
Thank you, and thank you. Yes, you are from Cape Breton. I apologize. I should have known that, all the years we were in school together. But no, I appreciate that. And I've mentioned on the record, and I do want to say this through Mr. Chair, is that I appreciate the comments from the Minister too as well, because the Minister and I have had a number of conversations about McGilvery. There was a commitment made to meet with the board, who are very active and engaged in this for years, as you've said. Like it's for many of these are community organizations that are represented across Nova Scotia that are really steering the ship on these things, working closely with the department. So it's also a lot of trades. So like are you running into, my question through you, are you running into any trades issues as you said there's 18 under construction right now? Is there any delays happening because of trades or labor shortage?
I recognize ADM Huntington.
Thank you. So While there are definitely some time challenges that we've had with the builds, it's not necessarily due to trades. It can be due to anything related to weather and permits and all kinds of things. So what I would say, though, is I think as a department, and you know, anyone that's ever built anything knows that we have to take into consideration construction delays in a new project for a whole host of reasons that I've just mentioned, not just due to lack of trades. We are hearing that there is opportunities for trades, and we know that our partners at NSCC are working on that front as well. We have opened Villa Acadienne in Matagan, we've opened Gignu in Eskazoni, and we've opened Mahone. And so that's two 96-bed facilities and a 48-bed facility in Eskazoni. We have 4 new facilities that are expected to open in the next 12 months, Mountain Lee Lodge in Bridgetown, Rosecrest, Moody Hall in Halifax, and Carefield Manor in Dominion that you mentioned. So we know that workers are out there, they're working hard, they're building high quality, safe facilities for our seniors. We will continue, as always, with every project to monitor the timelines, monitor the budget, and work with community when we can to make sure that these facilities, and it's 5,700 beds. It's 2,000 net new. It is, as I said, a generational investment. We will work to make sure they get built as quickly as possible in the safest way that they can.
I want to recognize Emily Mobakat with 2 minutes, 56 seconds left.
Okay, 2 minutes. What can I ask in 2 minutes? Listen, I appreciate that. And I think that, you talk about the big builds that we've all been involved with over the years, whether it was the college in Sydney or the hospital redevelopment or anything else, is that I think that people don't realize the amount of work that goes into these new builds for long-term care. And this was something that we talked about with the construction sectors when we actually made the announcements on a lot of these, is that there's a lot of opportunity for trades and there's a lot of opportunity for folks to be exposed to the trades just through these projects themselves. So I appreciate the response on the infrastructure side. I'm not going to we might have another round of this, but I will kind of pivot to wait lists. And you may not have the information today, so I can appreciate that if you can send it through, but do you have a breakdown of the wait lists now per zone?
And who's that to, Mr. ADM Huntington?
Thank you. I have to be able to provide that information for you after committee. What I can say, though, is when a bed is available in the system, in the long-term care side, we have placement time rates. So we have the facilities themselves, and they can speak to you about that. They have a certain amount of time after that bed becomes vacant to ensure that we're matching appropriate individuals for those beds. And our facilities are meeting and exceeding those timelines. I'm also pleased to announce that as of April 1st this year, we are moving to 7-day admissions in long-term care. So in the past, admissions, because admissions sounds like just an admission and it's a letter. It is a very complex process to match an individual with a long-term care facility. And, there's family, they have to be notified, they have to be involved, they want to welcome their family member into a long-term care facility. So it's quite a labor-intensive and really important process. And that was always happening kind of Monday to Friday. And we recognized that we shouldn't have a vacancy on a Saturday or a Sunday in long-term care. So we worked with our providers to roll out a 7-day admissions policy and process. And so we're obviously in early days. It's only early April. So that process is new, but that will ensure that people are getting access to those beds quicker. And in addition to the 5,700 beds that I talked about and the net new beds, the 2,000 beds, we are also looking and working with providers when opportunities exist to add additional capacity to the system. So if there is a provider, and we've done this in the past, that has an assisted living, that maybe they're opening a new assisted living.
Sorry. So the 20 minutes for the Liberal caucus is over. MLA Father.
Well, I couldn't ask questions as the chair, but I can ask as vice chair, so that's good. I really have been impressed by some of the things I've heard today, so I'm going to be directing this to the ADM. Before our government started a Department of Seniors and Long Care, the former government had closed berths due to staffing shortages. Can the department speak to some of the things they have been doing to keep the beds back up, to get it back up, and to ensure that there's continuity without disruption in the system?
ADM Huntington.
For the question. And I referenced some of the things earlier in my remarks, but what I would say is when I came to the department from the former Department of Education, Early Childhood Development, I met with our deputy at the time, Deputy Barbrick, and I said to her, what is the number one thing that you want me to do? And she said, you need to get people interested in a career in continuing care. And I met with our minister, and Minister Adams is a passionate advocate for seniors and long-term care. And I said, what is it that you need us to do? And her response was, you need to build sector pride. You need to create an environment where people know that they have career pathways, options, opportunities, and this is a great career for them. So we quickly developed plans and processes in place to ensure that those 2,000 seats were filled. We offered free tuition. Again, I spoke earlier about the investment of the 4.1 hours of care. I cannot underestimate the importance of that investment at that time and today. $35 million, 549 FTEs, direct care staff invested into the sector. 23% raise. Ongoing commitment to workplace health and safety. And that's a really important one because every employee in Nova Scotia deserves to work in a safe environment. And so if we're going to modernize long-term care and home care sector in Nova Scotia, there are certain requirements that we need to have. Basic things like an employee family assistance program. That was never offered or paid for by the province before. We made that investment, and that goes a long way in supporting employees' well-being. We also developed what I would call a career pathway. And so I'm going to tell a little story about a person that we have never met before at the department, but who inspires us daily. And we call her Molly Manor. And I'm being serious. This is an individual, when we talked about the free CCA program a number of years ago, we envisioned, and like I said, I am from Cape Breton, so we talked about, so I'm always taking that rural lens when we're doing program and policy development. And this particular individual wants to live in rural Nova Scotia in her home community. She was born and raised there. She's 18 years old. She wants to stay and live, her mom and dad are there, her grandparents are there. She doesn't know what she wants to do. And her parents say to her, well, the manor down the street's always hiring. Okay, great. Oh, and by the way, the province will pay for your free tuition. Even better. So Molly Manor, we call her, goes and takes the CCA program. She completes the course. She's successful. She gets a full-time permanent job in her home community. She's working. She's doing great. The residents love her. The administrators love her. It's a wonderful opportunity. She's now 25. She has a car payment, maybe an apartment. Does she want to do this particular role for the rest of her life? Maybe she does, and we welcome that, and we're thrilled that she wants to work at the manor for the next 25 years. But maybe she wants to do something else. What are we going to do to make sure we don't lose Molly Manor? That's why we're talking about the career pathways. We talk about CCA to LPN. That sounds like just an initiative. You can be a CCA, then you move to an LPN. That program is designed intentionally to attract and retain the Molly Manors of the world. If there are CCAs that want to do it for 25 years, we are thrilled about that. But we can't just assume that that's the case. We have to always be planning and preparing for what's next. And so that CCA pathway, CCA to LPN pathway that the NSCC is partnering with us on, is a cohort of continuing care assistants that work in continuing care right now. They know what it's like. They know the sector. They know their residents. And so they are going to then take this program through NSCC with support from us, and then they're going to become an LPN. And we need LPNs, right? We need our licensed staff. They're going to come, they're going to work in long-term care or home care in Nova Scotia, and they're going to stay with us. And now we've retained her. So we say something, and it's a little cliche, but we often talk at the department about CCA to CEO. So what do we need to do to ensure that we have career pathways in place to support individuals that want to go from CCA to CCO to CEO in a long-term care facility? And we are creating the pathways to do just that.
Emily Father.
Thank you. Such an amazing. I'm really impressed, to be honest. You've sold me. I just want to ask my last question. Basically, you mentioned that you ensure that all staff work to their highest scope or standard of practice. Can you elaborate on how, and probably give examples on how you're able to achieve this with the staff that works, with you?
ADM Huntington.
Thank you for the question, and I may ask Sarah to help me out on answering this one, but I'll first start off by saying we know, and I think Mr. Daniel referenced it in his remarks, when people can work to their full scope of practice, they are more engaged and they're interested in staying, and we are retaining the workforce. So with CCAs, particular in Nova Scotia, we knew that they had roles and responsibility and tasks that they did. We met with our sector partners early on to say, okay, can you tell us what roles, responsibilities, and tasks your CCAs do? And you as a CCA, what do you do? And they shared all of those things with us. And then we would meet with their partner down the street. And we would say, can you share what roles, responsibilities, and tasks you do? And they would. Sometimes they were the same, and sometimes they were different. And so we started to understand and look at why is it that some of these things are different. And, through no one's fault, but sometimes people assume that they can't do things. And sometimes it's just based on historical practice. And I'm going to give you an example of CCAs who are trained to deliver eye drops, ear drops, and some topical ointments and nail trimming. Some facilities and home care agencies in Nova Scotia have allowed that because they are well within their trained opportunity to do that. They can do that. Others just haven't been doing that. And there's no reason why. It's because they made the assumption through historical practices that they couldn't do that or they didn't have the training to do that. CCAs came to us and said, we can do this. We can do more. Let us. So that was inspiration for us to look at the CCA standardization model that we're talking about. And I wish we had something more innovative than the word CCA standardization because it sounds kind of boring. And in fact, it's the complete opposite. It is transforming the CCA workforce in this province. And so we are saying, you are trained to do this. You have the capacity and the capability of doing this. You told us you can do it. And so if you need some help and you need some refreshers, we have training modules. We will do all of those things and wrap arms around what the individual needs to be successful. But what that means, practically speaking, is if you are a CCA working and you know how to do these things and you can now do them and you weren't before, it means the licensed staff, so the RN and the LPN that was providing the ointments, the ear drops, the eye drops, the nail trimming, is now freed up to do more complex care planning. And that's all about what we're trying to do here, to create a stabilized workforce, but at the end of the day, to make sure that the people that are relying on our services are getting the best care in the best place by the best professionals.
MLA Father E.
I don't have a question. I defer to my colleague, Susan.
MLA Corcoran Creek.
Thank you to the chair, and thank you to all of you. We are all navigating a world right now that feels very heavy and very uncertain. And while it's been acknowledged, and it's always important to acknowledge that there is more to do, we have to also embrace our victories and embrace where we are making progress. And no wonder Minister Adams is always just chomping at the bit to get before the microphone or to get a question. I love Molly Manor. It's such a visible in all of our communities. I feel like we've all known a Molly or a Manly Manor, but I need a Maynard Manor. But I love that, and I love what it represents because, first and foremost, we need to show to people, not just young people, but broadly across society, that there is a compelling career here. And then when they taste those opportunities and they have a resonance, they have an aptitude. We talk about members of the clergy having a calling. But it's always been apparent to me that is more broadly true of many, many career paths, and certainly within the healthcare field. And so the ability to continue lifelong learning and options and opportunities and I've made a lot, my brain is a scrambled egg. I make notes all over the place. People with purpose. I love, this speaks so strongly to the culture that has been created here. So in that opportunity space of the CCAs who, having shown a passion, an affinity, a connection to residents, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking of my late mom. My late mom was bipolar. In her latter years, her sadness and depression was much more prominent than the other end of her scope. She was miserable. And visits from her compelling, hilarious daughter, eldest daughter, didn't always cheer her up. But there was one gentleman, a CCA, who went so far as to dress in drag. I mean, he showed up looking like Colonel Klinger from MASH, for those of us old enough. I'll tell you about it later, Brian. Anyway, someone like that to be able to stay, as you say, if that level is where they are happy, follow your bliss. But to have the ability to have a trajectory, I think is so important. So my question after that too long preamble is actually to Mr. Bureaux, and I'd just like to understand better, because in that space we have the CCA LPN bridge. We also have the accelerated LPN, and I'd like to just understand a bit more the difference between the programs and the opportunities that are represented in each of them, if you would.
Mr. Bureaux.
Thank you for the question, and thank you for sharing the story about your mom and the special professionals who provided care for her. My mother, too, spent her last years in a long-term care facility and received amazing care from CCA, so thank you. Mr. Chair, with your permission, I may ask my colleague in a moment to answer this question also, our Dean of Health and Human Services. But I'm going to start off by just commenting on what I've seen has been a profound change, and I've heard this word today, in the narrative of what it means to pursue a career as a healthcare professional in this province. And that's something that's of great interest to the Nova Scotia Community College, because we take a broad look at industry in this province, and many of those industries require a narrative change, whether it's shipbuilding. There was a time when people thought about a shipbuilding career to be only a career that you had to get very dirty, work in dangerous conditions, and it wasn't a pleasant place to go to work. But we now know that the modern version of building a ship includes a lot of automation, a lot of artificial intelligence, a lot of safety protocols, and the same is true with the skilled trade sector. We're seeing a different narrative there. So to hear the commitment of our partners who are looking to change the overarching narrative of different professions is something that will put us on the world map. Many, many years ago when I began my career, Nova Scotia often competed with the rest of the world on low-skilled, kind of low-wages positions. Come to Nova Scotia, lots of people willing to work for minimum wage. Those days are done. We can now compete with the best in the world because of our skills and our knowledge and our abilities. And this is just one example that we're proud to partner with. Now, to answer your questions about the specifics, about those specific programs, with your permission, Mr. Chair, I'll ask my colleague to answer those particular questions.
Then that would be Ms. Fisher.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yes, the CCA to PN bridge, the accelerated PN program, really exciting, really transformational programs that we've been able to develop in partnership with seniors in long-term care to really allow for a CCA to see their trajectory, their pathway forward. The CCA PN bridge was a very exciting opportunity that we began, and we first started in 2024 with a section in Truro, and when we had our first preliminary information session with CCAs around the province and employers, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of interested CCAs. The idea of becoming an LPN, the idea of becoming an LPN and for free tuition in a format that allowed them to continue to work remain in sector, remain in their community. The response was phenomenal, more than we could handle, actually, just for the first section. So we did capture those interested names and reach back out to them when we were able to offer a second offering of that CCA-PN bridge this year in Amherst. So there is actually a story of a student who is like Molly Manor, and she's a real live person, and gave her permission to share her story. And her name's Catherine, and she lives in Sheet Harbour, Nova Scotia. She works as a CCA and is a mom of two, and was encouraged by her employer, and that's part of the kind of the magic of these programs, if they incorporate employers into the learning, so that there's partnership all the way through. So her employer encouraged her to apply to the practical nursing program, to the bridge, and she had said that she would never have considered it, didn't have the confidence, didn't think it was for her or that it would be possible just in terms of accessing a program. Was encouraged to apply and successfully got into the program, and now her inspiration was her grandmother, who worked whose final years of her life were in a facility there in Sheet Harbour. So she now to this day is able to study online, remain at home, continue to do her employment, do shift work, support her children, and sees herself as being able to continue on and potentially even go on to do her Bachelor of Nursing. So that just the idea of an individual that would have never considered that as an option, but that was very much drawn to the caring profession. These are the individuals that we're accessing through some of these programs, and it really is transformational and inspiring, and very inspiring to hear their stories. And so in terms of the accelerated PN, that's another example of an innovation that we developed with our partners at Seniors in Long-Term Care, and that really was the idea of, with supports, is there a way to be able to manifest a faster outcome for a practical nursing program. And so we looked not at changing any of the standards or outcomes within the hours and requirements of the program, but rather was there a manner of delivery? So the delivery itself has become shorter by eliminating breaks. Our typical academic year programs end in June. So that's part of the way that we're looking to do more flexible alternate offerings of coursework, is to look at when can we schedule our programs. So this is an example of in our very busy Dartmouth campus, at Ivany campus, where our hours are scheduled in the afternoon and evening into the lab, so making full capacity of that lab, very busy lab in Dartmouth. So that allows us to both schedule it differently alongside some of the other programs that are happening, and complete that with a return of service. So they will work in continuing care as an LPN when they graduate and complete their national exam. So the model for those programs is it's piloted. There's a lot of built-in feedback and evaluation throughout, and really seeking to learn a lot through the process so that we can apply what we learn future forward, and that's what we're eager to do, and continue to be able to support any kind of flexible alternate type program as an approach to supporting the healthcare crisis. So,
MLA Corkum Creek with 50 seconds left.
50 seconds. Man, my preamble really did have take too much time. If I can ask Ms. Campbell about the IV pilot, which I think is tied to Victoria Haven.
Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. That's a great question. The pilot is underway, and our staff and medical director are very excited about this pilot. A change readiness survey has been conducted, and all of the staff agree or strongly agreed with the benefits of the program, and it really shows that the staff are ready. This will allow residents to remain in long-term care and receive IV therapy for things like infection and hydration, Currently, when a resident requires IV therapy, they are...
Order. Blame the amble, not the chair. So for the next round, it's 6 minutes each. MLA Wilson.
Of course, I have one question, and then I'll turn to my colleague. It's my understanding there's been some consideration of extending the scope of the CCA to dispensing prescribed medication, not just over-the-counter medication. Is that underway, and how's it going?
ADM Huntington, I'm assuming.
Thank you for the question. So what we are doing, and I think we just talked about it with the IV therapy pilot, we are looking at what options and opportunities exist within our sector and with our staff and our employees to optimize the roles that they can do. This particular pilot is currently being explored and looked at. What I can tell you is that we know that it is done in other jurisdictions in Canada. So we are getting best research on that, looking at what the art of the possible is and whether or not this is something that can be done in the province and done safely.
Okay, MLA Hammond. Did I say that right? It's the first time I've said it, so okay, there you go.
You're absolutely right. Thank you very much. I'm going to direct my questions to Mr. Bureaux and Ms. Fisher, NSCC questions. First of all, it's amazing the adaptability of NSCC to be able to accommodate what is needed in the market. So I just want to, first of all, commend that. But could you tell me how many continuing care students have graduated from NSCC in the last year? And how does that compare to previous years? Is it growing? Has it grown and plateaued? Is it decreasing? What are you seeing?
Ms. Fisher.
Yes, thank you for the question. An exciting story around our enrollment is that since free tuition has been implemented by the province, our enrollment has gone up 76%. We were in a decline combined with pandemic, and then the timing of the free tuition, as well as the new narrative around what it is to be a CCA and come into the continuing care sector, we've seen such a significant change in the desirability of the program. On Friday, we had an information session or webinar for incoming students, so anyone who's interested in coming in, and we had over 300 individuals register for that, which is extraordinary. Typical numbers are less than 100, so the interest level is changing. And in terms of our current fall numbers, we're looking very close to. We have five campuses now that are waitlisted, so there's about 45 folks on the wait list, and there are still some vacancies in some of the other campuses. So we're working hard on getting to full capacity. But we're currently at around 70% at this time.
Emily Hammond, with just under 3 minutes.
Thank you. So my understanding is it seems that it's increasing and continues to increase. So that's great. So this sort of a continuation of the previous question. The CCA to Practical Nurses Bridging Program that's been launched, along with the accelerated program. I know they are newer, but what are plans in terms of evaluating their actual impact in a year or two?
Ms. Fisher.
Yes, thank you. As I had mentioned, as part of the pilots, we do have evaluation built in to those, and really it's about really understanding what is the student experience when we're doing acceleration. That's really an important factor for us. How is it landing with the students, and how are they doing on their clinical placements? What is the feedback? So there's a lot of feedback mechanisms built in, as well as obviously both PN and CCA have exams at the completion of those programs. So CCA has a provincial exam, and LPN has a national exam. So obviously, really monitoring what those rates are, and being very cognizant of ensuring that we're providing the feedback as we review on any kind of future programming that we do, and doing our best to incorporate the feedback and input and any change that needs to happen.
Mrs. Ahmed.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, MLA Ahmed. Apologize.
That's all right. Thank you very much. I will ask in terms of the enrollment. That I just want to get some clarification because you had mentioned that there is a wait list of 26, but also there's a vacancy in one of the 5 campuses. Sorry, can you clarify that part, please, for me?
Ms. Fisher with 40 seconds.
Yes, so we have 12 different locations where CCA is offered. So there are 5 campuses in the system that are waitlisted. So because they are full at capacity. So there are other remaining campuses there still are space. So essentially that's what we'll move to get all of them full to capacity.
MLA Hamid, 20 seconds.
Thank you very much. I don't think I can ask a question and get an answer in that time. I'm just going to say thank you all very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
MLA Marmarket.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go to staff on this one, and it's around the caregivers, right? And there's the caregiver benefit program people can apply for to support, but it's over 20 hours, and we all know a lot of people. Like I was given some statistics. You know what I mean? They're providing 75% of unpaid care in Nova Scotia at the current time. Across the country, the caregivers, some of the stats I'm looking at, caregivers in Nova Scotia provide hundreds of millions of dollars in unpaid care every year, stepping up to help loved ones. And there's been a call for a refundable tax credit for caregivers. The benefit program is $400 a month. We all know the cost of living is there. There are qualifications around that. When it comes to how many hours a week, it's got to be 20 hours.
Emily, oh, they put it back on. I didn't turn it off.
Sure you didn't. Sure you didn't like my question. So my question through you, Mr. Chair, to the staff. Are you looking at any changes to that program to try to beef that up to help support people who are caregivers across the province supporting families?
ADM Huntington.
Thank you for the question, and it's a really important one. Caregivers are the backbone of providing care to family members in Nova Scotia, and anybody who has been a caregiver or knows a caregiver knows the incredible amount of stress that can go along with becoming a caregiver. What we need to be doing is absolutely looking at all of the ways that we can support caregivers. We have a really strong relationship with Caregivers Nova Scotia to understand and hear from them. They work directly with caregivers across the province of what supports and services that they need. So to answer your question, we will always be looking at opportunities to further support our caregivers. And other ways to do that would be including things that they have all the resources that they need. Our respite beds in Nova Scotia are open. They have access to home care when they need it. They have staff that are going to show up to support them. They have access to funding when they need it for specialized equipment. So these are a whole host of things that we do as a province and as a partner to ensure that Nova Scotians have access and caregivers get the breaks that they need. We rely on caregivers. We support them. They are the backbone. And so we are always looking at additional opportunities to support caregivers. And thank you for the question.
Emily Marmarket.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the answer. And I implore with everyone here, we all want to do whatever we can to support caregivers. A refundable tax credit would be something that would be really beneficial, I think, to them, to the folks that are doing that work. It's something that advocates have been calling for, including the Canadian Cancer Society, I believe, has been calling for this too as well. It's one of those things where, you know, it's over $1 billion to providing a care across this province and across the country, free each year. They can, as I said, they can apply for the caregivers benefit program, but I heard stories from my colleague from the South Shore today and others, and people are providing that care at home, and they're providing that care to a family member, and it's an easy thing that the government could do is to provide a tax credit to those folks that are doing that. So that's my on the record a plug for an initiative that I hope that the government would look at. So to my colleagues, please take a look. It would help a lot. It would help a lot of people. And I guess how much time do I have left, Mr. Chair?
2 minutes and 28 seconds.
Does that include the time you're going to cut my microphone off too?
No.
But
I never cut yours off.
Yeah. So I guess my next question, and I appreciate that. It's around turnaround time. So CCA goes through the program, something we support, free tuition, something similar in childcare was looked at too as well. But my question becomes, and it goes to retention, and we talked a lot in committee about funding that's around retention and the programs that are offered. Are you seeing what is the turnaround? Like, you have CCAs coming through the program. Is the retention rate staying high? Are you seeing a turnover? Do you have any statistics around how many go into the profession and leave in the first 24 months or 36 months?
ADM Huntington.
Thank you for the question. So as I've said, we have supported over 2,600 CCAs in the free tuition program. Those individuals do sign a return of service with the province, with employers. What they can do, though, is they're not necessarily tied to an individual employer. They can, as long as they commit to working in the continuing care sector. So if you're a CCA and you want to move from long-term care or home care, you're able to do that. Our vacancy data tells a really good story. It's not a story that we are going to just accept, though. We're going to always be making sure that we reduce our turnover and our vacancy rates. We are going to always need staff in long-term care and home care in Nova Scotia. And so when I talked earlier about having our foot on the gas, I really did mean that, because we cannot find ourselves in a situation in this province where we have beds closed to staffing ever again. And so whether it's free tuition, whether it's CCA to LPN pathway, we didn't get a lot of opportunity today to talk about the RN authorized prescribing program and the impacts of that in the sector. But this is a group of registered nurses in Nova Scotia that work in long-term care and VON, home care, nursing services, that are now able to prescribe a standard set of medications to their residents. And so the impact of that is quite significant. So many older people in Nova Scotia suffer from, for example, UTIs. And so if you were in a long-term care facility and the nurse who is there every day, who knows you, who works with you, knows your care plan, understands your needs, notices that something's off and that their patient.
Sorry. MLA Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, everyone, for such exciting information on the progress that we're making. I've been in LPN for 21 years. I graduated from NSCC Burge campus in Yarmouth. And I can tell you nothing but good things about the experience that I had there and the education that I received and where it's led me in life. So 20 years as an LPN, kind of working across the spectrum, but I finished the last 7 years with continuing care, helping set up nursing services for the NOAT program, and working alongside the VON in Yarmouth in Western Zone. So this has been really exciting for me. Probably the most exciting day I've had since being elected in government, getting to share good news stories about the things that are happening in healthcare. That's specifically the reason I chose to run in the last election, because I felt like over the last 3 years we weren't just changing the narrative, we were changing the way people felt about healthcare. We were changing the morale, we were changing the atmosphere. Those were all the things that were missing in the last decade, that when I started, when you were working night shifts, when you were having laughs, when you were feeling positive about the care that you were giving, those were the things that have changed, that we're now seeing again in healthcare. So that's exciting for me. The people with purpose really stuck out for me. It's something that I'll take from today. To feel heard, to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel respected every single day. When you say that to your staff, when they feel that you don't have to worry about the care that your clients are giving because they'll give that in return. So that's exciting as well, and to be able to work to our full scope of practice. And I'm actually going to ask a question about the registered nurse authorizer prescriber program to Mr. Daniel. Just interested in learning a little bit more about the impact of the registered nurse authorizer prescriber role. Can you explain how that role has changed the way that you support your residents?
Mr. Daniel.
Yes, thank you for the question. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really serving us on 3 different levels and 3 very impactful levels. The first one is around retention and ensuring that these skilled professionals, this isn't a new skill, it's allowing them to practice to the level of scope that they already have. And it's all part and parcel of a maturing and evolving system that we have here, and we're very proud to be part of. When it comes to the quality of care provided, again, my former years as a former paramedic and having done transports for patients that you're exposing them to environments that otherwise they wouldn't have to. I mean, it's April 8th. Imagine transporting them today and all the snowfall outside for individuals who are part of a very vulnerable sector. When you can bring that care exactly where they are, to their home, to their residence, and provide them that same quality. This isn't a sacrifice on quality. This is an increase in efficiency and ensuring that they're receiving this higher level of care more quickly and timely. And then the last piece, I think, which is also something substantial and we should talk about, is the pressure it relieves on the system. That transport to and from the residence to the hospital, the time spent at hospital, all of that time where it can be done more efficiently and not tying up resources and providing, again, same quality level of care at the comfort of their own home. I think it's something that we should continue to celebrate and evolve and continue to move in that direction. It's exciting, and we continue to build on it, as I mentioned, starting with Care by Design and how that's grown and where we are now. And the IV therapy feeds right into this exact type of model by being able to hydrate patients and our residents at the comfort of their own home.
Emily Hilton.
And actually, you answered my next question. It's going to be around the IV therapy pilot program, and just one comment about that, and the fact that working with continuing care and working with outside organizations to set up that specific care, like we're talking hours and hours a day that will save. Not trying to figure out how to get an outside provider into a home to provide something that when you can work to your full scope of practice, you can do that. So I'm just, I'll ask another question maybe to Ms. Campbell. You're getting a replacement facility, I hear. How are you feeling about staffing that and the overall experience?
Ms. Campbell with 35 seconds.
Thank you for the question. We're very excited about our new facility. We do have an increase in beds. I currently don't have any staffing issues. I've never had to utilize agency, and I'm able to, our staff get whatever time they want off, generally speaking. I can't think of a time that I've had to refuse someone vacation. We really focus on workplace, a workforce balance. I've been doing succession planning with my staff.
Order.
Okay.
Sorry, Ms. Campbell. I blame the guy whose mic messed up. That's all I'm saying. I'd like to thank everybody for coming here. What I'll do is, I'm not sure how the previous chair did it, so I'll start right to left. If anybody has any closing statements, Mr. Daniel. There you go.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the committee for inviting us here today. We're very happy to share the successes and the progress that's happening in this sector. It's, again, not a destination. There's not one point in time where we're going to get to and say the work is done. It's a journey, and it's the progress that's been happening and all the substantial improvements that have happened across the entire sector. We're proud to be part of it. Northwood's always had the reputation of being a place of firsts, and we're proud to partner on a lot of these projects with the department and trialing these pilots and continuing to be a place of firsts. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Campbell.
I just want to thank the committee for the invitation to be here today.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Ms. Fisher, anything?
As well, just want to say thank you. It's really an honor to talk about this exciting field and the changes in it. So thanks for having us.
Mr. Bureaux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. At the Nova Scotia Community College, we have a very simple mission: to build the economy and quality of life of Nova Scotia through education and innovation. And when I think about the growth and innovation in the healthcare sector, it's being driven by technology, but it's being defined by humanity. And I heard that over and over today. And my ask of you as elected officials, keep that up. Thank you.
Thank you. ADM Huntington.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here to share with you some of the important work that we're doing on behalf of seniors in this province. We are revolutionizing and transforming the continuing care sector, and those are big words, and that's a big task, but it's not one we take lightly. And I know every ADM and DM in government will say their team is the best. I'm proud to report that mine is. We have a group on behalf of Sarah and I and my team behind me and everyone at the office and across the province who are working every single day to deliver high quality care and services to Nova Scotia seniors. And we are really fortunate that we have such an engaged sector. So I want to take a minute to acknowledge the both home care and long-term care sector who are on this journey with us. And so these are meetings, these are conversations with the Cove Guest Home about one program that they did and now is a provincial program. That's how you build relationships, that's how you inform change. Our training sector partners, NSCC, our other training institutions have been along with us on this journey throughout the entire transformational system changes that we're going through. We're not done, foot on the gas pedal, and we look forward to continuing to support Nova Scotians now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Ms. Melanson.
Thank you. Thank you, JL spoke to it.
Okay, perfect. Well, I want to thank you again all for coming. What we'll do is we're going to take a quick 3-minute break to allow the guests to leave, and then we'll get into our committee business. Thank you. We're in recess. All right, everybody in their seat. The meeting is back to order. So we're going to deal with committee business. So witness substitute for May 13th meeting on gender-based violence, the Department of Justice has suggested ADM Cynthia Carroll in place of DM Jennifer Glennie because the Deputy Minister has been out. I know that MLA Rankin is the one who put it forward. I did talk to MLA Rankin. He was aware he doesn't have an issue with this. Is everybody fine with this change? Perfect. It's done. For the June 10th meeting, meeting on barrier-free access to contraceptive and sexual health services, including PREP for Nova Scotians, is tentatively scheduled pending witness availability. Most have confirmed, some have not. However, Dr. Kyle Wilby of Dalhousie Pharmacy will be in Toronto that day. Wants to take part, but would have to do it virtually. Is everybody in agreement that the doctor can do it virtually? Yep, perfect. All right, we have some correspondence. The committee was CC'd on January 7th, 2025, an email from Oliver Eigen, and I probably the name wrong, sorry, to the Office of the Ombudsman regarding wrongdoing and final notice of public disclosure. Is there any discussion on his correspondence? Okay. I received, which I just got to the clerk because it came while I was, just as the House rise, an email from Daryl Dexter regarding Pulmonary Hypertension Association of Canada. I'm going to let the clerk say something on this because I can't remember what was in the email. The clerk, please.
Well, I think Mr. Dexter was just writing on behalf of the association and saying that he or they would be interested in meeting with members of the committee, either privately, individually, or perhaps at a public meeting, and just wanted to sort of make the committee aware of this and let members decide what they wanted to do with that.
So the members in agreement that for the next, that'll be held off for the next agenda setting, and we'll let Mr. Dexter know? Sure. Agreed? Agreed. You guys are all agreeable today. Loving it. Next meeting, Tuesday, May 13th, 2025, from 1 to 3 p.m. Gender-based violence, pending, I'm not going to say that because we already agreed to it. Witnesses, the Department of Justice, Nova Scotia Advisory Council, Status of Women, Lynn Gallant Blackburn, Lucy Bowser, Transition House Association, Nova Scotia, Willow House, ADSOM for Women and Children, Bryony House. No other business? We are adjourned. Thank you.